All right, let's see where the storm is now, making its way out of Florida into Georgia. You'll notice, though, that the storms like this, once they make landfall, they started getting the friction with the ground, and we start seeing the heavy rainfall separate on one side of the storm, like we're seeing here now, where it's on the north and northwest side, whereas we're getting drier air coming from land on the eastern side. This, though, is where the wind is going to start to shift to. You'll notice the official forecast track, the cone has shifted further off to the south again. Don't worry about the cone as to whether you were in it or were out of it. This just shows you where the center of the storm is going to be. With that separation, we're going to get the heavy rainfall across the inland spots here and the stronger winds separating and heading offshore. So all in all, with the storm intensity, I'm putting this at about a 2 for us here. One thing I am concerned about is that potential as far as some isolated tornadoes and waterspouts along the coastal areas. That's going to be an issue for us here as we do head overnight tonight into the early morning hours tomorrow. Onslow, Craven, Carteret, Pamlico County need to have a way to stay weather aware as far as that is concerned. Also, we are under a storm surge watch across the eastern part of Pamlico Sound, up the mouth of the Neuse River, the Tar and Pamlico River. So again, watch for maybe 2 to 4 feet of water inundation there. We are under a tropical storm warning. That'll be until further notice for us here, as we do see areas along and east of Highway 17 with that potential of seeing not only the heavy rain, but also winds up to 35, 45 miles an hour. And that's kind of what we're looking at here. Speaking of the rain, one thing I am concerned about is that potential for some heavy soaking rainfall over already saturated ground with rainfall rates 1 to 2 inches an hour. That could cause some flood issues. So we do have a flood watch that's in effect. That starts at 2 o'clock today and runs all the way through until about midnight tomorrow night. Officially now a Category 1 storm, ramped up to a Category 4 at 5 o'clock this morning, and then 2 hours later, as it was about to make landfall, made an eye-wall replacement cycle and dropped it from 130 miles an hour down to 125 miles an hour. So again, a very strong storm. You have to go all the way back to 1896 was the last time that we saw a storm go into this part of Florida that strong. So again, very historic system that we are tracking, making its way northbound to us. Speaking of the potential of flooding and storm surge, we're keeping our eye on the high tides here, especially one later on this evening and then the one tomorrow morning, as the potential of kind of giving us a little bit of that exacerbated height as far as the rainfall is concerned for us here. Tornado watch stops just to our south, but I would not be surprised if later this afternoon that would be continued for us here across eastern North Carolina as a result of this system. Temperature-wise, where we've seen that sunshine out, we're into the mid to upper 80s. But we are starting to see some of that rain-cooled air drop those temperatures back into the lower 80s. Through the afternoon hours, we'll continue to see those light to moderate rain showers working their way inland. It's 8 p.m. this evening till about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's when the worst of it is going to be over us here, with the potential of some of those waterspouts coming in along the coastal areas here. And what we're going to watch for is see how the wind hours are showing that northeasterly direction in one area, southeasterly in the other. That's the area not only we're going to see the heavy rain, but also the potential of isolated tornadoes and waterspouts. And again, this is going to be during the overnight hours for us here. Rainfall rates will back down the further north and west you go for us here. And here we are by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, starting to see that heavy action work its way off of the coast. We may, by early in the afternoon, actually see clearing skies develop across the area for us here. But that rain is going to come down fast and heavy. We'll have to see that zone where that heavier band does start to set up. But I could see maybe areas like Kenansville, New Bern, Washington, Kinston. We could be looking at the potential of maybe some isolated 10 or even 12-inch amounts, not out of the question. Again, just depending on where those heavier bands do set up. Wind speeds really do start to increase. Peak winds come late tomorrow morning into the early afternoon as the storm goes by to the south, and that high pressure to the north is drilling those northeasterly winds into the system. Then once it slides on by, we're still going to stay breezy into the day on Friday. After that, we start to see those winds come down, and we'll start to dry the atmosphere out for us here. It should be a great Labor Day weekend with those temperatures near seasonal levels into the mid 80s and low humidity level around, so a good chance for us to dry out.